Rejection is not about you and your business, and don't take it personally. You just understand that it's maybe not the right time. Keep in touch.
Actor, entrepreneur, investor, and yoga instructor.
Mohammed Mostafa.
There's this strategy that a lot of people have where they oversell, underdeliver, and also they're not genuine people. And at the end of the day, that's what you really need, even if it's a handful.
You pitch things and people say yes, some people say no, and you just move on to the next one. But building companies, you need to be incredibly resilient.
And the thing is, for me, is that every no was a reason to keep going. Nobody knows about the amount of auditions that I have done that I didn't get.
What have you learned from becoming a successful actor that you've applied to business or business building?
Not many people know this.
So before we begin with today's conversation, a word from us at Open Equity. You're probably watching this because you're looking to scale and exit or IPO your company successfully. Well, we have a wealth of resources that are designed exactly to support your success, from workshops, from free guides, from downloads and things like that. There's loads of links in the description. Let's get on with the show. Mohammed, it's an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me on the Open Equity Show, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Likewise.
I want to start with Versatile Synergy. Why Versatile Synergy? What prompted you to set it up?
I mean, it kind of needs to stem back from where it was birthed, right? So it was an idea that started after my work experience in London. And that's where I kind of like built more of a knowledge, but also like somewhat of a passion and one willingness to learn more about technology. So I worked in a Scandinavian family office in Mayfair doing private equity VC. It was a global media house, an investment firm. And what I noticed was they were doing collaborative joint ventures, taking some equity, helping companies grow without investing capital. And I found that very interesting. And I thought back home, there's a lot of leverage, a lot of areas that we can create smart partnerships and direct access to certain value propositions that companies may need. And then technologically understand more and offer that to companies that don't look at it. Because there are many companies that are way ahead of the game. There are companies that are exploring it, and there are companies that are just stagnant in the sense of digitally transforming. So when I had left the company in Mayfair, London, came back to Dubai, and to be honest with you, my goal wasn't to start something for myself. It was more to, maybe try the government side of experiencing working in the government. So I applied to a government entity that was fully focused on technology investment for government entities. Hiring process, obviously that takes a bit of time, went through it. Thankfully got the job, and then COVID hit. And then there was a hiring freeze. So nobody could get into this new job they got offered, and people who are in the current company cannot change at the time. That was the rule. And at that time, I felt like I couldn't sit still, and I decided to set up Versatile Synergy, initially to help high street businesses digitally transform and scale them through marketing activities and access to the influencers and other strategic ways that we can help these companies.
So it's during that quite acute time when there was loads of companies who were like shut down basically and now had to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, basically. And it wasn't on purpose. It was just for me. I always thought about Satwa, Karama, Dera, these high street businesses still doing so well. A lot of people still go out of their way to these locations and have they're loyal to these stores. And I thought, it would be great to find a way to either make kind of like a Satwa marketplace for each territory that has these high street businesses, or individually attack each. That was the idea at first, but you plan and God has better plans. And so basically I set up and I started to get support from different companies. I ended up becoming a vendor on one of the government entities on my second month. We didn't get the job, we were too young, but it was still an eye-opener that all businesses need transformation at any level, and it's not just the high street. So I kind of pivoted away from that. And I think as an agency, not just agency in life in general, but you need to always be agile, and that's a very strong, I'd say, trait you have to carry throughout life, throughout business. And so what I did was same thing, so same services, but I was starting to offer it to a wider range of it without the focus of high street businesses. And then I offered to a few family businesses in Dubai, startups, different services from talent to website building to different things, consulting, etc. Then I went to my family business, and it's a company that I've always wanted to be a part of. And thankfully, for my dad's reasoning, and when I was much younger, I've always wanted to come in and work there, and he would always say no. And I'm glad he did. Sometimes you don't understand things in the past, and then later on you kind of understand why your parents or people have done certain things, and it's basically for your own benefit, for your own growth. So I had to go and find my own feet, and I think without the experience that I built, if he had said yes, then I probably wouldn't have come in with as much value or knowledge or know-how, etc.
Yeah.
So I came to our family business, which is a conglomerate between two markets, Bahrain and UAE. We're divided as such. So we're real estate developers and investors. We're distributors for global brands. So we represent like Breitling in Bahrain, Oral-B here and in Bahrain, Braun, Beko, diverse portfolio, VIX, and different products. And then we have a service and manufacturing arm that does screens, security, film production, high-end advertising. It's called Boomtown. We have an ice factory. I think it's the first ice factory in Dubai called Dubai Ice.
Always demand for ice.
Yeah.
Always demand for that.
It's in Deira. And then now we have our family office, private equity VC. And on the private equity side, we invest in real estate, in tech, regional, UK, America. And on the VC side, it was set up to basically support ventures of the family members. I didn't know this at the time, but our CEO obviously
keep that secret. Don't tell you until you come back with something.
So yeah, exactly. And he has this vision to obviously continue running the family business, but also create some sort of a support system for all the family members. And we're a large family number-wise. We're over 300 people. So like a lot of people are in high positions in government, rightly so, very successful entrepreneurs. And if there's any correlation between the family business and what the family member is doing as a business, where they could potentially partner, and it's aligned with the future mandate of the family, why not? So technology and marketing made sense because we could then service the portfolio companies of the family group, and then start growing the business outside of that as well. So yeah, that happened, and we partnered, and then it's been 2.5 years now of a partnership, and we pivoted around, but I believe now we've found our feet in the sense of being we call ourselves an Emirati growth agency. Now, there are plenty of agencies that offer these services, but the edge and the difference between us is we have very strong strategic partnerships, strong access, know-how, and again, having myself being a local, knowing the market, knowing the people in the market has a huge value.
Huge amount, yeah.
Having my experience of working in London in investments and tech and scaling those businesses and very strategic angle adds a bit of value as well. So we take that and package it into like we created this growth program. So people come in, and instead of hiring, for example, a new employee for X amount, and that employee then has to go and do all the dirty work, you come in and you hire Versatile on our growth program, and then we basically not only give you access, but then we're your right hand to create the strategies with you, implement these, create the right collaborations, and be a part of your team, even attending the meetings if you need, and help your business grow.
Yeah. Well, it's always easy to plug into people who have the capability and access to. Let's talk about ecosystem building. We were talking about this briefly before, but I think what you've done amazingly well is pulling together lots of different strings to create something. And how have you thought about ecosystem building? Because that's what you're describing as quite a multifaceted service. It's kind of simplifying what can be complex into a thing. But how have you thought about ecosystem building, and how can people leverage that?
I mean, and then people say this a lot, is like in business, it's all about who you know, right? And obviously that's been something I'm knocking on my head for quite some time. So I felt like it would be very important as an agency to not just continue doing the services that we provide, but also building the right relationships and creating the right partnerships and positioning a mutual value with those partnerships, not just trying to take, of course. And thankfully, we've created some really valuable partnerships, for example, with Dubai Digital Chambers, ByteDance, Continuous Ventures, which is a venture studio in Dubai now, owned by Colin Meagle, a great guy. Also, working and surrounding yourself with the right people, the right minds, people that are doers, movers, and yeah. So I just I'm out and about, and I'm around different events, different access, and I basically cherry pick the right people and keep those right people close to me and close to my business, and also sometimes they also turn out to be also people that are quite close to me as friends as well. And it's funny, that's a topic that a lot of people talk to me about. It's like, would you do business with friends? And I think more so that I would rather do business with a friend than not. And I feel like if a business was ever affected because of a friendship, then early on that wasn't a genuine friendship. That's my view on things. Anyway, I think that money should never come in between. And if red flags were shown, then at least the business has shown you the relationship needed to cut early. Then, so I think it's a blessing in any case.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I work with some friends, and I've worked with some friends, and I've always. I think what I've learned to do, actually, I probably didn't do this, is learn to separate the two things. And typically I'd have a conversation. I'd say, we're having let's have a friend conversation.
Yeah. In that sense,
and now let's have a business conversation.
In that sense, yeah,
get
for
on
sure.
with this.
Yeah,
and I agree with you is kind of the separating the two, or saying, look, ultimately the friendship is really important. The business, is important, but in the grand scheme
of things,
the idea
to want to
but you only
grow
do that
with your friends.
You only do that with very deep friends, though, like you say. I wouldn't do that with everyone, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one thing I want to then ask you about, based on that, is like, what are some of the things that people get right and wrong about UAE go-to-market? Because there's millions of people flooding here thinking, I'm going to set up shop and I'm going to build this amazing business and all of these things. And I find a lot of people, they just don't do lots of basic things or whatever else. I don't want to kind of preempt it, but like, what are some of the things that you find that people get wrong about it, and how would you advise them to actually succeed on their UAE go-to-market?
Basically, what I'm trying to do is being around the right people. I mean, especially in a demographic like this, there are plenty of people that may sell themselves in a certain way, and
on LinkedIn, there's thousands of
and unfortunately,
devices.
there's this kind of strategy that a lot of people have where they oversell, underdeliver, and also they're not necessarily genuine people. And at the end of the day, that's what you really need, even if it's a handful. Instead of going for the mass, get like 5 quality people in the market. And it doesn't have to be local, but also it would help with somebody that's been here for quite some time, because again, that builds a different sort of vetting, because it's a relationship-driven market, and that those relationships create some sort of vetting process for you early on, rather than you having to build through that and go through your 6-month, 1 year, 2 year process of, especially with Arabic investors, they tend to not invest super early. I don't want to generalize, but based on what I've seen. But as soon as they come in and that trust is built, they'll take you for dinner, they'll take you to their farm, they'll take you around. You start building that relationship in a friendship way, and then once the investment comes in, they stick. And that's something also to keep in mind. I think another thing probably also is when they bring their companies in, and this doesn't just go in the UAE, it goes everywhere, and I've noticed this also in London. Now, every investor has his own appetite, comes in at different stages. If you come in and you're pitching your product, and if you believe in your product and it's a great product, it probably is. Investor probably also believes it is, it's just maybe not the right time. Maybe currently not the right fit. Maybe currently that investor's already deployed certain amount to other activities, which also as entrepreneurs, they have to be very self-aware that rejection is not about you and your business, and don't take it personally. You just understand that it's maybe not the right time. Keep in touch. I'd say that's a very, very important part, is keeping that investor in the loop, especially since you've spent time creating the meeting, attending the meeting, and understanding the value of that investor. Don't walk off and then disappear, because then the investor would be like, I've made the right decision, not investing. Because the job is to keep in touch with these investors, send them newsletters, send them updates, any new investment, any new strategic partnerships, things that are adding value and growing that business. You never know. Like it's you're selling the business basically, so you wanna make sure that investors always somehow in your radar.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's really good advice. There's two things, because there's one is do your research up front. I find a lot of people I get a lot of approaches, for instance, for very early stage stuff, and I say explicitly we don't invest in early stage XYZ. Now, whether that's just AI automated LinkedIn messages and things like that, but doing the research up front, and then to your point about following up, I find a lot of people. I mean, building companies inevitably you need to be incredibly resilient, and so if my rejection to saying yes to investing now means that you never speak to me again, or you're put off, or kind of got your tail between your legs.
I've seen it so many times on and on and on and on and on again. So
whereas actually the best ones, like you say, maybe the next 3-6 months, and then they get so much, you kind of think, actually I missed out, and now I need to leap on this thing before it's too late. Which is I think it's really good advice. I want to talk more about the entertainment industry and the film industry, because I think you've been both obviously as an actor, but also as an ecosystem builder within that. Let's talk more generally about, you were talking about all of these different ways in which that you're bringing together partnerships for people who want to create in the region. I'd love to hear a bit more about those.
Yeah, but let's say my favorite industry. I love being on set. I love acting. I've done about 6 movies and TV shows in total, 6 or 7.
Yeah, regional
and international. And to be honest with you, it was actually when I did my last show where I noticed that there's opportunity in product placement here. So I got my agency to start doing product placement, and very lucky for us that we ended up doing our first project with City of Life Continuum, which is actually my brother's film. He's a director, I'm an actor, and I started getting into product placement now with my agency. He had actually done it with his first film as well, and then on the second film when it came out, I told him, I was like, look, I knew there was no role for me in this one, so I said, I want us, we're a marketing business as well, and product placement kind of like falls under that umbrella. So I said, I'd like us to help and work on the product placement for this film. And, we did quite well for the first film. So when you guys see it and you see all the brands, that's us working with production and closing all those opportunities. And that was
But that's super interesting itself. So I think a lot of people won't realize how much product placement is a feature within the industry.
Yeah, I think another thing to put in mind is that, number one, people like subtle advertising, not so much in-your-face advertising. And a lot of the time, even when you're doing product placement, a lot of brands will be like, say, okay, I'm going to buy from your real estate company, for example. It's like, okay, we can't oversell it to that point, because then it's not a movie, it's an advertising.
And the audience immediately gets it. It's like, I love this Coca-Cola.
It's got to be subtle. And when it's subtle, it's more like subconsciously it works even stronger. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey on the product placement side. We're working on another film now. And yeah, I think another thing to keep in mind with product placement is that the longevity of it. It's there forever. It immortalizes your brand. So if you, for example, pay X amount to be on Sheikh Zayed Road and half the people aren't paying attention to that, it's probably a quick, again, subconsciously, that brand will also resonate and be glued to your memory. But in product placement, it's there forever. If you watch the first City of Life, you'll see everything that's been placed in there to date and in the future. So but what's also interesting about product placement is where technology is going. And there are like these certain solutions where you can start plugging in products into older content.
I was going to say, I mean, there's kind of the AI will change that so that it's not, whatever, it's whatever. But anyway, yeah.
So it's an interesting time, especially with AI, especially in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
But I want to be optimistic about it. A lot of people were doing the opposite, but I want to, see how we can leverage AI for the positive in the industry and not worry about what it's going to do for the negative.
Yeah.
And actually, we used AI for sourcing product placement deals, because we had a teaser of the film completely done in AI, but very, very, very high quality. It literally looked like the actors. It felt like the actors, and the scenes were similar to what the movie was like, just to give the brand, at least if they cannot see the film because it's not shot yet, we can at least show them that teaser through AI. And that's one way, but I guess there's many other ways to. And another thing with the ecosystem building you mentioned, and it's one thing I think that's very important also outside of the entertainment industry is as a local or anyone that's living in the UAE and is growing their business and has the UAE as their home, is to understand what the government has to offer. And that's something I kind of learned over time. Because there's so much as a local, but even not as a Emirati, you have so much leverage and opportunities that you can work with, that they support you in so many ways, but we probably know 20, 30, 40% of it. And there's so much more that they're there to offer. For example, there's companies in Abu Dhabi, like CMA, they basically they have like a ecosystem of the entertainment industry in their territory, and they're bringing like the right businesses that can add value to the ecosystem in. And there's a lot of ways that obviously they want to bring international productions into the UAE, like Mission Impossible, Dune, example. And obviously these companies, these productions that shoot here, they want their rebates and they have their incentives that they have to hit. Shooting here in the UAE, hiring local talent, shooting at the locations, etc., etc., etc. So it's a big positive for me as an actor myself doing product placement. So I'm an actor. I add value there. I add value in potentially bringing brands in and sourcing investment. But another thing that I thought would be great to do strategic partnerships with a handful of people in different territories. And I've already acted in Romania, Thailand, England, Spain. So I have relationships with these production houses. And each territory has their own rebate systems, right? So it'd be great to double hit. So hit one in Thailand, for example, and make sure you get your incentives there and then get the incentives here and then shoot the movie in both territories and add value for both parties. And currently I'm working on that kind of a system right now.
I mean, bringing them together. I mean, I think you touched on two things there. One, knowing to the point about relating to setting up and being successful here, but then knowing, like you say, I've been stunned and surprised, and I've only scratched the surface with all of the different ways that government can support in terms of setups and the right connections and so on. But then actually, being able to connect across territories. Because then, in a sense, you kind of become the go-to person who can say, well, not only can I act in the thing, and I can help you with product placement of the thing, I can also help you figure out all the locations to do the thing, whatever.
In an ideal world, that would be great. If I'm acting in it, I'd like to completely just focus on the one task. But yeah, as I build a team, of course, that would be a great scenario. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, I want to talk more about like moving from business into more like life design. Because as I was preparing for this, I was thinking, it's something I find really interesting about you is that actually you seem very intentional about designing your life and having different areas of life. Like some people I know are very focused on business and they have no hobbies. Other people, they maybe have lots of hobbies but don't have any business. But actually, are you intentional about life design? Is that something you thought of, or is it actually just things have just popped up along the way and you've kind of got into them? I'm kind of curious how you've gone about that.
Like I said earlier, you have your own plans and God has his own, right? So it's something that I kind of learned over time. And I feel like I've also reached in a position where I'm intentional about everything I do, but I'm also very well aware that certain things may not work out. And that's why I touched on being agile and agility being important, especially now and where technology is going and how fast markets change. But for sure, I mean, for example, I always want to be a ambassador of somebody that works hard, isn't lazy, works very hard and make sure that he does what he loves and providing value within those areas of work that I work on.
But have you always been like that, or is that because I can think about myself, for example, there's probably patches of life where actually I was like stuck in something I wasn't really enjoying for a period of time, and then maybe was like, I need to change.
Have I ever done something I didn't enjoy?
No. Have you? Well, A, that, but also B, then.
Because no, if to answer you, then I have not and thankfully, and I've been blessed for it. Yeah. But I think if it was me focusing on the one thing and the one thing only, it was when I was playing football. I was just football and football only. But again, you had your plans and certain things. And I know I played. I had a professional contract. I played for a little while. Had some injuries, whatever issues I had. Thank God they happened, because I've arrived where I am now. And to be honest with you, I've found the funny thing is acting is the first thing that I've ever done. And then I got into playing sports, and now I genuinely find acting and the entertainment industry something that fuels me more than the other. Or maybe the timing was better than for me, and this time in my life it's more the creative and the artistic side. So it's definitely intentional, but also ready for the adaptability that I need to pivot to.
Yeah. I mentioned that we had someone on the show a few months ago who was an ex-professional sports player, and I know it's a bit of a cliche about the connection between sports and business and so on, but I did want to ask you, what have you learned from becoming a more experienced actor and becoming a successful actor that you've applied to business or business building?
Just like sports and in film, I'd say.
You've done sports and acting, so you got both of them.
So, yeah. Discipline.
Yeah.
Honestly, it taught me a lot about discipline, because you go through, it's tough. Sports and film, it's not an easy industry to get into. You're forever learning, but I think it's definitely, especially with sports at a young age and playing in a club, and basically not being called up for the team, or then playing as the main keeper for nearly the whole season, and then all of a sudden not, or certain things that make you. And the thing is, for me, is that every no was a reason to keep going. And I think especially with acting as well, a lot of people maybe have seen some of my films or know about only the stuff that I have done, but nobody knows about the amount of auditions that I have done that I didn't get. And I mean, there are a lot. And especially when I was living in London for 7 years, my agent, Creative Screen Management, shout out quick to them. They sent me a good few auditions, and Hijack was one of them, but that worked. I got that. But a lot of the other ones didn't work out. And they were also like big projects, opportunities, some very close, like life-changing. I mean, Hijack was one of them, but again, it's consistency, it's discipline. And I think it goes the same in business, especially we're talking about startups, entrepreneurs, sourcing investment, going to investors. Those no's.
Yeah, it's basically, you're right. I suppose there's a lot of overlaps, because it's a bit like going to an audition in a sense.
Yeah.
It's just no. And then eventually someone says,
the only difference is
it's not a one-time shot though, is it?
The only difference is if you're going to an investor, you have to be your authentic self.
Oh, I see, yeah.
You don't act as another character, because that's definitely very important. Investor needs to feel the real you.
Yeah.
And then acting is acting. You bring the artistic side to pull out a character and get the role. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. What's that experience like? I mean, I obviously I've done plenty of business pitches where you're right, you pitch things and people say yes, some people say no, and you just move on to the next one. But like, I feel like with acting I would take it more personally. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Is it how I look? Is it
yeah, do you know what I mean? Does it fit, like, what's that experience
was
actually
it my
like?
style? Was it?
Yeah.
It's a good point, actually. Actually, it is tough, because a lot of people, also psychologically, it does affect a lot of people. I mean, like the modeling industry, for example. It can be very harmful to some people, because it can be very.
I mean, modeling would be even tougher, right?
Even tougher,
standing up, and it's like, sorry, you're slightly this, or you're slightly
acting
that.
is like, okay, maybe it's the talent, but the modeling's even. So if you're going to say that, then I'm going to bring that topic up.
Yeah.
But I think, funny story, actually. Not many people know this. I was supposed to be I was one of the last few people in the world to be Aladdin with Will Smith, that film that came out a few years ago. I was living in London. I had much longer hair. It was like into a bun. And yeah, I mean, I was at a gathering in London, and my cousin is actually a movie director, from my English side, and his name is Adam Morse. He's actually a registered blind movie director. That's another story I'll get into. And he's like, and his friends came by and said, "Hey, you look like Aladdin. Go to the audition." So the next day, I had no intention to go to this audition, and again, keeping the right people around you, getting the messages, the calls, get up, go, you should go, try it out. So I was like, okay. And I went, and that's the thing. Every no is an incremental growth. So like every time somebody says no to you, it's an incremental growth for you to reach where you want to be. And where I am now, all those no's, especially this Aladdin was kind of like the start for me to be like, okay, spotlight is on acting. Should I get into this? Because it almost happened and it didn't. But then I got my agent and went further. But long story short, I went to the audition. And I wore like these like baggy pants like Aladdin and a tank top and
brought a carpet and
no, and a monkey.
A little monkey. Yeah.
What's his name? Abu, yeah. So yeah, I went to this audition and I remember coming in, signing these papers. Then I go into the main, waiting area. They open a door and I walk in and I literally felt like Joey Tribbiani in Friends where, he goes into, there's a scene where he goes in and it's like everyone in leather jackets.
Black,
looks like same.
Really?
Exact experience, but Aladdin.
Okay.
All these Aladdins around. And I'm sitting there thinking, how the hell did I end up here? And one guy, and it's crazy, the different characters. One guy's super cool and chill. One guy's listening to his music and getting pumped up. The other guy is super nervous. You can see him like shaking. And I'm just sitting there, and then I hear somebody's name get called, and then he leaves. And a few moments later, I hear singing from the top of his lungs, and I'm like, oh. And then I just remember like a flashback, my cousin Adam going, anything they say yes. If you can sing, say yes. If you can this, say it. If you can dance, say yes. And I'm like, okay.
That's again a bit like Joey Tribbiani when he turns up and
yeah, exactly. And then I went in, so they called me, and I'm thinking I didn't even prepare for a song. I didn't know what I'm supposed to. Didn't know what to expect, and I sung a very like chick flick song that was on the radio in the Uber.
Well, you did sing.
I did sing. I sung a song from Coldplay, and I sung two songs. One was from Coldplay. I think it was Scientist.
Yeah.
And the other one was this chick flick song. Literally, we heard it in on the radio coming in the Uber. I think it was called Love Song. I can't remember the name of the artist, Sarah something. But anyway, that was an experience, but that didn't work out. And I mean, they called me back after that. I got called back, and then it got serious. I got a singing coach, it became, I was sending different tapes. I'll show you the tape later. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say is like every no is basically is your basically journey to turning into that becoming a yes.
If you take it the right way.
Yeah. If you take it the right way.
So I can think back to years ago taking rejection so personally and being very stubborn about them. Whereas now I agree with it. I mean, I had a meeting last week where it wasn't a no, it just wasn't quite a yes. But I think perhaps to have a bit more maturity to see what the gap is and how to solve it.
Yeah, and I think that maturity lies, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about age or what you've experienced. It's an awareness.
I agree with you.
It can stem from you being 20 years old, 19 years old, or 55. Some people don't even have it at 70. But it's the awareness of understanding, having that right... it's like an analysis, really. It's like you look at things from a bird's eye view and you kind of like pivot and understand that, okay, this is part of the process. And you have to learn different qualities of a human being, which is acceptance, trusting process, trust, and belief in yourself, and creating that consistency that will spiral into a success.
No, I think that's great about it. I think applies to a lot in that nugget of what you just shared there, for sure. How do you then prepare for a role? This is me just being like a kind of acting fanboy. I mean, normally we talk about hardcore business topics and so on, but I'm really curious, like, how on earth do you prepare for and have that discipline to prepare for a role so that you can go and execute it? And I mean,
it would help if you had a bit of time.
Yeah.
But sometimes you.
But does that happen? Do you typically get a long time, or is it just like go next week? Or
with Hijack, I had a bit of time. Yes. With Khataf, I didn't have much time. Because it was literally get the role, and then straight away we had an acting coach coming actually to our villa in Jumeirah, and then Najmuddin Scorpion, he a legend in his own rights, ex-professional fighter, stunt choreographer, and so the team would come we'd do the acting coaching for like 5 hours, different scenes, different ways of models of acting, etc. Straight after that, onto the back garden, there's like a tennis court. So we then put the mats up and then start doing choreography. Because choreography is also very different. I do Muay Thai, I've done fight training, but choreography is a different art. And starting to learn that. We didn't have much time, but what it helped also was again, I think, my brother definitely played a good role there, is that, he gave me hints of things to do, but he basically wanted me to find it myself. And I did. I went and I did this course with Samuel L. Jackson. It was one of those. God, I can't remember.
I mean, that's
masterclass.
That's okay. You did masterclass with Samuel L. Jackson?
No, but not directly. It's the ones you pay, the online ones.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. I was going to say that would be amazing.
Yeah, and basically, that would have been amazing. Or Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
Both legends. So yeah, I did that, and I started to understand more of how to dissect a character, and also differentiate between you and yourself and your own emotions and experiences and traumas or whatever it is that you need to then play out in the character while you're acting a scene, and really being that person and his experiences. And I think that was one of the nicest experiences for me with shooting that show, because again, it was 15 episodes. I was the lead character, very consistent. And initially I was learning more about, like, if I had to bring out an emotional scene, I'd think more about my own life and tear up and bring whatever it is I need to bring out. But over time, I noticed myself really becoming and evolving into Khataf. I think he still lingers somewhere around me. I have quite similar stories as well, which I like. Another thing, I said this on a podcast earlier, what I loved about that show as well is that Khataf is not a superhero, and it added a lot of value to the youth, the Emirati kids, because basically a lot of them liked that show very much, and it influenced them to go and follow their own dreams. And there's this brother and sister called Mira and Marwan, and the mother constantly sends me messages of them training all the time,
really
preparing to become fighters. And she's also an actress in her own right, and Marwan, they do their commercials and things. And every time they win a medal, they send it to me, and then other kids. And then I visited this kid, Diab, in the hospital, and many other experiences. Like sometimes I'm walking on Kite Beach and one guy comes and says, "You are my hero," and things like that. And I think, obviously he's not talking about me, but he's talking about the character in the show. And I think that character in that show must have done something to these kids that really made them feel like, okay, I don't need to, spray spider webs and fly and be able to jump off buildings or have an abnormal power. All I need is to do what Khataf did, was believe in himself regardless of what life threw at him. And that's something I really loved about that show.
Yeah. I mean, fascinating. I wanted to ask you about the journey flow. I think as people watching this will know, I'm obviously a hardcore yogi and very much into that. But Mohammed, you've been kind enough to bring me into, I think, a really unique and great way of kind of creating this great kind of yoga experience. But let's talk about the journey flow, and how did you arrive at that? Was that an evolution? Was it something you had very intentionally? Like, I think it's just it's a very unique take on something that to make a great experience.
Definitely not something I ever planned. Playing football and doing the different work, and never ever thought I'd be sitting in front of a class teaching a yoga practice, to be honest. But it worked out for the best, and I think basically it helps me come back onto my mat and then offer other people to do the same and do something beneficial for their mind and body. Yoga for me is something that's part of a lifestyle. It also allows me to write and be a bit more on my poetry. So I write poetry, and I love that aspect because it's kind of my journaling somewhat. I like to write, and that's my way of expressing and letting things on a piece of paper. But yoga, for me, my journey of yoga was actually through depression. And also something that I think people should be openly talking about, but not openly in the sense of trying to drag attention or putting on their stories on Instagram.
No, but it's a thing that people experience and should work through.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think, regardless of where somebody is at in their life, success or not, or I think everyone's already in, there's no or not. It's success. And for me, what defines success, right? And we're going to pivot into something else, so we don't want to get into that right now. But I think it's very important to speak up about it, because you never know where somebody's at mentally. And at this age now, at 34, I've experienced a lot, and I've seen a lot of people, and no matter what stage they are in their life, and some people you would think they've got a great life, but mentally they're in a very dark place. And unfortunately, with like men's mental health, men and women, and the idea of suicide pops up in a lot of people's minds. And I think it's very important to like work on a practice that helps you be more self-aware. And yoga was a very important practice, let's say, that helped with that. And I just want to continue teaching it, and through my poetry, giving that like mental aspect to it, a mental message for people to absorb. So obviously, you've been to the class many times. It's called the Journey Flow, because we're all on our own journeys, and we all have similar qualities as human beings: being patient, forgiving, present, intentional, etc. So I write poetry on each of these themes, and then in the class it's a guided meditation on one or two. So sometimes it's one quality or two I talk about, but let's say tomorrow is on presence and forgiveness. So I'll start off talking about forgiveness with a poem in there, Shavasana, soft music, and then volume goes down. I'm sure you like this playlist, but it's
great.
House music comes up. And I spend some good time, working on that playlist. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I
remember when we first met, and you kindly invited me along to the office, and then you said just as we were leaving that you did this, you did the yoga and you taught me through the journey flow. And I thought what's great is just a combination of different things, because I wouldn't call myself but I've been to hot yoga, or I've been to whatever, but it's all fairly standard in a sense. And what I really like is that you've actually brought together a few things, some of them which are personal to you, and some of them are kind of, I guess, traditional in a sense to yoga, and brought it together into something really unique.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. To be honest with you, it's definitely personal because it's structured that way. Actually,
yeah.
The class, the Journey Flow, started in a shala in Thailand, in Koh Phangan, when I was doing my teaching exam, to get my certificate to do teaching.
But when you said, I'm going to put some house music on, did everyone think?
No, honestly, at the time, the house music I started when I came to Dubai, but that time it was more like disco songs. I didn't put house then. I think I might have been pushing it. I said if I do house in that, but I thought,
in the exam they might be like, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
I put a bit of different type of music, because there's not many other people put really like music the way I did. But I think music is also something that's great, and it's something that heightens the mood, depending on what you're playing, of course. And I think it's great to be part of that package. So good music, poetry, breath work, and then you said personalizing it. So when I end my class, I say Salam Alaikum at the end, and it's a nice little touch. I think every teacher has their own style, and I think I always advise students to go and try as many different type of styles that they like. Maybe commit to one or not, and try others. And if they come to mine, I'm grateful and happy for it, and we can just flow through some house music.
Highly recommend it. And as I said, I think scaling it and offering different forms of the journey flow, I think would be great. But I want to come back to the point about the success and struggle and all of those things, because it's funny. I had a conversation yesterday with someone in our team who's about 25, 26, and I think I realized what his experience must be like, where basically he opens his phone, he sees everybody who's uber successful,
grass greener syndrome,
this or the other thing, and he's at 25, and he's got a a business that he started and he's got a team that's going, but I know that he feels like everybody is 15 steps ahead and whatever else. And I said to him, you're 25, what are you talking about? But it's super different. And I mean, it doesn't have to be someone who's 25. I also know people who are 40 or 50 who are still kind of have that thing in your head. But like, what would your advice be to those people who kind of, to put it in perspective or get some rooting or get some grounding about
come to
about
the Journey
life?
Flow.
Come to the Journey Flow. link
in my bio. I think it's important to have the right people close to you and trusting those right people that they're there for you. Because you can't, when you sit in your mind alone in silence, it can be a dangerous place. And if, say, that person has that kind of mindset and he's thinking already in that sense, it could become a snowball effect. So the fact that he's already started with one step, he's spoken to you about it, is already speaking up and kind of like taking the advice from others, that people that care. It doesn't have to be somebody super close as well. I mean, it could be, I don't know what your relationship with the person is in depth, but maybe he trusted you and said, I'm comfortable speaking to you about something. And he did. And then you've shared something then with him that you never know that influence. And that's the beauty of people. We're very communal. And we've got to share and open and not just build businesses and execute and make teams. That's one, but also humanizing relationships and understanding that everybody is on their own
journey
flow.
I was going to say
Journey
flow as well. Think below,
but you know what I mean. And so everybody's on their own path basically, and we as team members, family members, relationships, with the complete strangers, when we're meeting people, because we can be very quick to judge when something happens. When it's like first impression kind of situation. But sometimes you have to really give benefit, and it's something part of Islam and our religion is to give people the benefit of the doubt. Also, that I practice a lot is that I try to, at least, is to always be more wary of the position that somebody else is in mentally and where they're at. And even if something may have happened, I try and give 1,000 excuses before I make that judgment.
What would your advice be? Because I think I've noticed it is like, it's the same principle. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners I meet, they actually have very successful companies, but they have this kind of syndrome that everyone has $1 billion company and et cetera, et cetera. But like, what would your advice be for someone who's in that kind of space about how they can perhaps work through it or move forward, apart from obviously link in bio and everything like that?
You talk about, for example, somebody that's super successful.
Just going from, I think as someone, I'm someone, I think I've had some probably 2 or 3 phases of depression in different forms for my life, and it's difficult. And then I'm trying to think through, like, what are the things that I would advise for someone to kind of step out of that, or make a shift, or make a change, or kind of go from that negative place to something a bit more positive. I'm not sure I have a great answer.
To be honest, be really honest with you and being genuine about it, but and I don't want to be cliche also, but like, honestly, if you think about it, like, just me sitting in front of you, your existence, you having the ability to be alive, a fully functioning body in an area that's safe, being able to provide the value and work and things that you're doing is a huge blessing. It's like there's a huge percent of the people around the world that don't have anywhere near what you have. And really being aware of that and practicing that on a constant and counting those blessings. So simple of just being alive, saying Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And that's also another thing. I like to always be thankful to God, always say Alhamdulillah through the ups, the downs, always being grateful for what you have, I think helps a lot. And then with the nitty-gritty stuff that you're talking about, I think it's just more practice of self-awareness. It doesn't have to be Journey Flow link in bio, but it should be. There's really no other way. There's no other way.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's whether it's yoga, or maybe you're basically burnt out from work and you need like a small retreat. Do something for yourself, go out, come back, refresh. But again, don't go out, come back refreshed and stay in the same mindset. Like really try and position it in a way where you're, again, like I said earlier, bird's eye view, analyzing situation in an understanding manner, in a fair manner for yourself. Because if you think about it, the only dialogue you have in your life that you have no choice over is with yourself.
It's that voice in your head. Yeah.
The voice in your head.
Yeah.
So it's like, work on that voice in your head, because that's really the most important
either your friend
voice
or your
and
enemy.
conversation that you'll have in your life.
Yeah. Well, I think I think the first thing that you said, I think the point about, you're right, actually sharing it with somebody else is something that I think a lot of people don't do, because I think there's that, stay in your head, you're dead, kind of, someone, a mentor once said to me. And so
I like that.
That's a good one.
Nice. That's a nice point.
Is actually,
I put that, I'll rhyme that in my poem.
And I think another one said, if you're adding more, is your head's a dangerous place, don't go there alone. That was quite similarly quite a good one. But then the second piece then about, I think finding your thing. And I think I found personally, like going to a different environment or just changing something can often shake that a little bit, whether it's going on holiday for a week or it's going to a different environment. I found, my mentality is very different moving countries, perhaps from being in London for about 15 years to now being out here and so on. And
also understanding what stimulates you, right? What, for example, some people, for example, they reach a time in their life and they're like, no, I can't do this anymore, but this used to feed you. Of course it has to be something that's beneficial for you, but sometimes they have to detach from it for another person, or because of the business, or where they're at in their life, or they're like, no, I'm too mature now. I'm not going to watch, I don't know, a cartoon movie that used to really make me have joy, fill me with joy. Don't let go of those things that used to really, stimulate you, because those are the things once in a while you need to go back to come back and be fully fueled.
It's funny you said that, because actually yesterday we were putting something together, some training, but I actually went back to my first experience of building a company, and it was really refreshing, because I remembered this young excitement. Because I think I've probably been a bit critical of it and thinking I was a bit young and naive and all of these things, but actually I went back on it, and it did remind me of actually the excitement and possibility and all of those things, versus I think I can get a little bit cynical about stuff. And it was quite refreshing just going back and remembering the youthful excitement that shouldn't be lost. Anyway, I want to talk about what next and what you're excited about. Maybe the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Like, what are you excited about next?
I have a real estate company in Bali, and I feel like I need to put my money where my mouth is and invest in something myself before I start pitching it. And I'm looking at something there.
We won't link that in bio just yet. Link that in description just yet.
Coming soon. More Bali investments.
When we do part two. I was in Bali actually a few weeks ago. So
I love it. It's such a nice place. That's part of the detach and so I can't share the project, but I'm working. So I did my own stunts in my last show, but it's going to be my first time being a stuntman in a movie. Cool. And it's a big project, and it'd be cool as an Emirati stuntman to be in this really big project. So I'm looking forward to working on that, and things like perhaps. There's investments. Honestly, I'm looking at different things around tech and real estate. Real estate, I've already done a bit here in Dubai. Looking at Bali and a bit of tech as well. But again, like we said about ecosystem building, those relationships that I've built. Now strategically come and figure out how we can together combine as partners and maybe either set up a separate entity or work on those collaborations more stronger and continue to grow versatile and add value to the family business simultaneously, since we're partners.
Sounds exciting. Thank you so much. It's been great to have this conversation. I could talk to you all day.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
So I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. And if you did, then you should get on our list, because we will be sharing exclusive behind the scenes. We'll be sharing more content, more materials. We'll also be sharing who are the upcoming guests, so you can prepare for that. You can ask questions and you can really start to be part of a community. Head below, click the link, join the list, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.